From that video of Ezra Miller attacking a woman in Iceland to fans calling them out for being a bad actor, here's the real problem with Ezra Miller. The star has been in hot water for almost 3 years now, and no one has let them live any single event down. Like that time they choked a woman in a bar in Iceland. And why would anyone let that slide anyway? It's not every day that you see a video of one of Hollywood's biggest stars choking and throwing a woman to the ground. So imagine the shock fans received back in April 2020 when Ezra got way too aggressive in what was only meant to be a playful, joking interaction, according to the victim. The woman claimed that something just snapped in Ezra and they were all over her, screaming in her face, asking whether she'd like to fight him. Luckily, this woman's friend had been filming the whole interaction. The situation got so bad that 2 of her friends had to physically hold Miller back, and they still wouldn't let go. Of course, the actor eventually had to be escorted outside the bar and was asked to go home. But things weren't good back there either. So, for context, Miller was staying at an Airbnb in Iceland. It was sort of a vacation for them, since work had come to a halt due to COVID. But that place was no regular bed and breakfast. Because under Miller's watch, it turned into commune for their friends, artists, and get this, the actor's spiritual confidants, whatever the heck that means. Sources claim that all of these people were almost hypnotized, always terrified of the actor's outbursts, which were more frequent than you'd think. To make matters worse, Miller had also begun a brief physical relationship with an 18-year-old woman who claims that the star was extremely manipulative. Yikes! Of course, the viral choking video, coupled with these news reports, were enough to send fans into a frenzy. Naturally, Ezra's PR team was working really hard to shove it all under the rug, and Miller even went into hiding for a bit, a year and a half to be exact. Unfortunately though, the publicists clearly didn't work hard enough, because even in 2022, Ezra was pulling the same kind of stunts. Yep, they didn't even waste 1 month. In January 2022, Ezra posted a very weird video on their social media directed at a North Carolina chapter of the KKK. Now, while the star did seem to have great intentions, it didn't seem to translate well in the video. The star was wearing a flash signet ring in the clip, asking the Klan members to kill themselves with their own guns. Otherwise, Miller would be more than happy to do it for them. Yeah, it was pretty horrifying. They also clearly stated that they weren't joking, and this was a super serious threat. Now, concerning as it was, since the message was targeted at a racist group who've done far more damage than Miller ever could, it was controversial. But the fans weren't super angry and moved past it pretty quickly. But more issues came to light as February rolled in, with a woman claiming that Ezra had harassed her after a 2-year-long friendship simply because she asked them not to smoke in her apartment in Berlin. The victim said that Miller made her feel very unsafe, and she was genuinely scared for her safety, thinking that they could attack her physically. Miller went so far as to call the woman a bunch of names, even going as far as to say that she was transphobic for some reason, along with labeling her as a Nazi. Yikes! First Iceland and now Berlin. Quite the global criminal here, aren't they? But it looks like these 2 locations weren't thrilling enough for this actor, who went to solidify his criminal record in Hawaii, where a string of 10 police calls was recorded against them. Oh yeah, Ezra did a lot of damage in Hawaii, to other people and to their reputation. Filming people at gas stations, arguing with strangers, and refusing to leave when people had enough of them. They checked every single box for minor disturbances. But let's not forget the bigger issues. In March 2023, Miller had the police called on them for becoming agitated and yelling when a couple began singing Shallow at a karaoke bar. But they weren't just yelling. Ezra went and snatched the mic from the woman and also attacked a man who was playing darts, resulting in them getting charged with disorderly conduct and harassment. But the night was still young, and this wasn't Miller's only encounter with the law. Later that same night, police had to remove Miller from their lodgings because they burst into a couple's bedroom, threatened to bury them, and apparently also stole the woman's passport along with the man's wallet. The couple was eventually granted a restraining order against Ezra, and by that point, everyone knew that things were serious. And so, it was time for DC and Warner Brothers to discuss the issue. They had an emergency meeting over Miller and the future of his now-released The Flash in April 2022. While the film was supposed to go ahead as planned, the studio executives decided to halt any other projects involving Ezra. And good on them for finally taking a stand here. As it turned out, Ezra also caused quite a bit of unreported drama on set while filming the movie. A source revealed that they used to have many meltdowns and outbursts throughout, and in simple words, they often let their intrusive thoughts get the best of them. So, the studio had probably been considering other possibilities for quite some time. Now, you'd think that such a fiasco would prompt Ezra to hang low for a while, right? If nothing else, at least they'd want to save their job. Well, not really. Because just a few days after this meeting, Miller was arrested in Hawaii for allegedly hurling a chair at a woman and injuring her. The 26-year-old victim was left with a half-inch gash on her forehead. And if that wasn't enough, just a few days later, the actor was roped into yet another controversy, where a person on TikTok said they'd been abused in a romantic relationship with them. This person also posted photos of them with Miller, which gave their story a lot of credibility. And let's just say it definitely wasn't looking good for the actor, and it wasn't going to get any better. Just a month later, in May 2022, a music producer and a rapper accused Miller of stealing music they'd worked on together. Ezra had apparently posted the music in question on SoundCloud without crediting either artist. Both musicians said that the actor's actions were very hurtful and obviously unethical as heck. But this news got lost somewhere and didn't gain a lot of traction with fans. And that's only expected when fans have to hear much worse things about the star, like allegedly grooming a child who was only 12 when they met Miller. Dakota Iron Eyes' parents said that their child was manipulated by the actor to an insane extent, going as far as to say that Miller used drugs and violence, among other things, to control their kid. But before you jump to any conclusions here, you might want to know that Dakota herself had denied their parents' claims, saying that her parents were the ones who were manipulative. So of course, this case is as complicated as it gets, and the fans really don't know how to feel. Just like that report about Miller's Vermont farm. Yep, another month, another city. In June 2022, an exclusive report revealed that Miller had a mother and her children under the ages of 5, living at their Vermont farm. This farm was apparently unsafe for children since Ezra frequently smoked substances there, as the place also housed plenty of guns. But before matters could get any worse, the mother came forward herself, saying that Miller had actually provided a safe haven for her and her kids from her violent and abusive ex. Sure, the place had firearms everywhere, but they were perfectly legal and kept far away from the kids. So, while Miller was safe this time around, it looked like they were still looking for more trouble, because in August 2022, they were accused of stealing alcohol from their neighbor's farm. Are you kidding me? I never knew that even A-list Hollywood actors could be so broke that they can't even afford their own booze. Following this incident, Ezra was arrested and charged with trespassing, burglary, and larceny charges. While they initially pleaded not guilty, the actor was finally prompted to release an official statement, admitting to suffering from mental health issues that had caused all this behavior. The actor promised to start working on their mental health and even made amends later in January 2023, pleading guilty to all charges and paying all the fines. But that wasn't enough for fans who'd had enough by now. In fact, they'd been calling for Warner Brothers to remove Ezra from the film since the first choking incident, and the rage had only grown strong with every passing incident. But it wasn't just the controversies that were annoying them. According to fans, Miller was just a horrible flash, and they couldn't act as well as some people thought they did. One fan called Miller the most overrated actor out there, with plenty of supporters of the franchise now blaming the failure of The Flash solely on him. So, from fans holding the actor responsible for The Flash's underwhelming performance to the first incident in Iceland that started it all, that was the real problem with Ezra Miller.